A friend of mine and her lodger was, well, they were arguing. One from the point of view of my friend, from the point of view of, well, basically how corrupt the world was, and the other holding tenaciously to actual conspiracy theory. The reality is that people in the world in large measure are fine people, especially those in authority and power. They have a good reputation, good credentials. We believe them. My good friend was of a different opinion and has been tenaciously. From my perspective, he was seen, her lodger, as he was seen to me as tenaciously hanging on to a view that was untenable to me, and he seemed to be impervious to any suggested alternatives and, if you like, flaws in the argument and the evidence that surely, dare I say, from our point of view, is good reason to reject the ground he's standing on, that the authorities are good and genuine. I reflected that the discourse was pointless in a sense, in that there's no way he can shift ground. He is tenaciously hanging on to for a reason. He could be, for instance, psychologically impaired. What the world would say is mental illness at present, under great strain. He could be bought by the system, that his trust is actually not in God, but in the world being okay. In other words, he hasn't taken to heart that we are in the world but not of it. He sees his security as being part of it, and that it is being safe. The greatest safety to do so, to believe such. So I would say that the pressures of life have given him a theology which he's holding tenaciously onto as well, because he needs to, else life is terrible. And he's somehow matching that also with a double insurance that the world is not half as dangerous as my friend, what she thinks. Perhaps some despair has driven my friend's lodger to this position that he holds. Right. Leave it alone. And she does, of course. She will still continue in her loving care towards him, although she'll probably continue with all her verbal skills and charm to reveal to him the truth as she sees it. And in large measure, I see it too. But it won't be what we thought of the world, or what we thought in the world, our philosophy and our theology, that will be the reason for us being in heaven. The reason for being in heaven is because of who we are, children of God. And when we come to an increasing realization of what our true values are, we find that they are what the true values of heaven which our God values, in truth, beyond even our conception of him, until we have such values. And then our theology will seem, well, just part of a dream that was part of a schooling, part of the experience that brought us to the realization of our God, that brought us to a maturity that counts by the grace and love of God. Thank you, Dad. So you do see, don't you, that what will actually determine the outcome is not the theology being in common, not really, and not reason breaking through, not really. What will change, what will dominate, is how he left the situation before he had to go on to doing something else, which I don't suppose was anything like as urgent as he was presenting. He wanted to leave the situation in that how much he appreciates the relationship. And all three of us know why he wanted to endanger that. That there was a loving concern that was more important than any theology, actually, although theology was not an issue, of course. It's probably best not to make theology an issue, because if one ended up with a different theology, then that would start to divide, wouldn't it? But what mattered was values in common. Actually, you see, all three of us love love. That's what matters. Care and concern. Genuine, loving kindness. And there's no way we want to endanger that, because that's what we value. And in the end, that is what will carry the day. Quite simply, that we love each other. Love conquers all, you see. There's no theology or philosophy or reasoning or stand that can stand against it. What we need in our selfishness is care, help, love and kindness, good intent. That's what we need from those around us. And by the grace of God, that's what we're able to give. And no one in their right mind is walking away from that. Whatever the philosophy, reasoning, religion, whatever is. My principles cannot stand the test of loving kindness. This is our great need. We are built inwardly with an overwhelming dominance of the desire to live and live happily. And that which contributes to it is of value, and the rest is noise, rubbish, person. Thank you, Dad. You have made us with this incredible homing device that brings us to you. Love you, Dad. Love you, quite simply, for all your kindness, all your loving care.